What does it truly mean to create? Is creativity a gift reserved for the chosen few? Or is it a way of living, open to all of us? In the creative act, a way of being, legendary music producer Rick Rubin doesn't just teach us how to make art, he reveals how to be the kind of person who can't help but make it. Across 78 chapters of wisdom, Rubin takes us on a journey from the silence before the first idea to the deep trust in the process, to the quiet satisfaction of bringing something new into the world. This is more than a book summary. This is a guided experience. Every chapter, every example, every insight, shared so you can feel the creative spark move through you. So, take a breath, let your mind open, and step into the creative act, a way of being. Let's begin. 1. Everyone is a creator. Creativity isn't reserved for painters, musicians, or writers. Rick Rubin reminds us that every choice we make, how we arrange our living space, cook a meal, or solve a problem, is an act of creation. Creativity is our birthright. It's not about skill, it's about engagement. Think of a child building sandcastles at the beach. They don't worry about technique or audience, they just create. In the same way, an entrepreneur designing a product or a teacher shaping a lesson plan is exercising creative energy. The act of living with intention makes us creators. The key? Let go of the myth that creativity belongs to a special few. We're all artists, shaping the raw material of life. 2. Tuning in. Before you can create, you must listen to yourself, to the world, to the subtle signals beneath the noise. Rubin likens this to tuning a radio dial until you find a clear signal. The static is our distractions and doubts. The station is our creative voice. Great musicians don't just play notes, they hear the silence between them. Filmmaker Terrence Malick waits for the right light before filming a scene, trusting nature's timing. Tuning in means cultivating awareness until you feel the pulse of the idea wanting to come through. It's less about forcing inspiration and more about recognizing when it's calling. 3. The source of creativity. Rubin views creativity as a river flowing through us, not from us. We don't own ideas, we catch them. Nikola Tesla described his inventions as visions that appeared fully formed in his mind, as if received from elsewhere. Artists often speak of being in the zone, where the work seems to write itself. This mindset shifts the burden. You're not inventing from nothing, you're channeling from the source. The more you connect to it through stillness, curiosity, and play, the stronger the flow. 4. Awareness. Awareness is the doorway to creation. It's the noticing of details others overlook, the way sunlight falls on a wall, the way a stranger laughs. Rubin recalls recording artists who built entire songs from a tiny, overlooked sound. Awareness is both outward and inward, observing the world and sensing your own inner state. Without it, ideas slip past unnoticed. With it, even the mundane becomes a spark. 5. The vessel and the filter. You are both a vessel and a filter. Ideas pass through you, but they're shaped by your unique experiences, tastes, and values. Two people can hear the same melody, but only one will turn it into a jazz improvisation while the other makes a pop ballad. Rubin emphasizes protecting the vessel, your mind, body, and spirit, so it's open to receive, and refining the filter, so what passes through you aligns with your truth. 6. The unseen. Much of creativity begins in realms we can't see or measure. Rubin compares it to a seed germinating underground before it sprouts. Dreams, subconscious connections, and gut feelings are part of the unseen process. Filmmaker David Lynch uses catching the big fish as a metaphor, deep diving into the unknown until something surfaces. Trusting the unseen means having faith that even when nothing seems to be happening, growth is underway. 7. Look for clues. Inspiration leaves breadcrumbs. Rubin advises us to notice recurring images, phrases, or themes in our lives. They're clues. A designer might keep seeing a particular shape or color before realizing it belongs in their next collection. The Beatles often followed playful studio accidents that became defining parts of their songs. The creative path isn't always straight, it's a treasure hunt. 8. Practice. Creativity isn't a one-time act, it's a discipline. Rubin reminds us that the greats show up daily, whether they feel inspired or not. Maya Angelou wrote every morning, even if she thought it was bad. The point is to keep the channel open. Practice builds trust in the process and keeps you ready for when inspiration strikes. 9. Submerge the great works. Sometimes the best way to create is to immerse yourself fully in a project, letting it take over your life for a while. Rubin points to great works, films, albums, novels that required total devotion. Think of J.K. Rowling writing Harry Potter in cafes for hours, day after day. Submerging isn't about balance, it's about depth. It's how masterpieces are born. 10. Nature as teacher. Nature is the ultimate artist. Its designs, patterns, and rhythms have inspired creators for centuries. Rubin encourages us to study it, not just as scenery, but as a guide. Japanese architect Tadao Ando designs buildings that harmonize with light, wind, and water. Nature's pace teaches patience. Its resilience teaches adaptation, and its beauty reminds us why we create in the first place. 11. Nothing is static. Everything is in motion, ideas, trends, even the self. Rubin stresses that clinging to a single way of working or a fixed identity can suffocate creativity. Think of Bob Dylan's career, constantly reinventing himself, shifting from folk to rock to gospel and beyond. Nature reflects this truth. Rivers change course, trees grow new branches, seasons turn. Creative work thrives when we accept impermanence and allow our process to evolve. What you create today may feel foreign tomorrow, and that's a sign you're alive as an artist. 12. Look inward. While we often search for inspiration outside ourselves, Rubin reminds us that the richest source is within. Your experiences, memories, fears, and dreams are raw materials for creation. Frida Kahlo painted her own pain, turning private suffering into universal art. By looking inward, you find the emotional truths that resonate most deeply with others. It's not about self-absorption, it's about honesty. 13. Memories and the subconscious. Our subconscious stores more than we realize. Songs from childhood, fragments of conversations, the smell of a rainy day. Rubin suggests that some of our best ideas come from this reservoir. Director Christopher Nolan drew on recurring dreams to create Inception. Tapping into the subconscious often requires stillness, play, or even sleep. Sometimes, the mind solves a problem when you stop thinking about it. 14. It's always there. Creativity doesn't vanish when we feel blocked. It's always present, like the sun behind clouds. Rubin says the key is to trust that even in quiet seasons, the source hasn't dried up. A songwriter who hasn't produced in months isn't empty, they're incubating. The trick is to stay connected to your curiosity so that when the clouds part, you're ready to receive. 15. Setting your environment shapes your output more than you think. Rubin designs recording spaces that feel inviting, relaxed, and alive with possibility. A cluttered desk can drain you. A well-lit quiet corner can energize you. Ernest Hemingway wrote standing up in his study, while Roald Dahl wrote in a small shed filled with familiar objects. Setting is not just physical. It's the atmosphere you create for ideas to land. 16. Self-doubt. Every creator faces it. Rubin reframes self-doubt not as a flaw, but as a sign you care about your work. Even Michelangelo questioned his own skill while painting the Sistine Chapel. The danger is letting doubt paralyze you. Instead, acknowledge it, then keep going. Doubt can be a compass. It often points toward the work that matters most. 17. Make it up. Creativity is, at its heart, invention. Rubin encourages embracing playfulness, even when you have no clear plan. Improvisation can lead to breakthroughs. Miles Davis famously told his band, "There are no wrong notes." By freeing yourself from the need to be correct, you give space for the unexpected to appear. 18. Distraction. We live in a world engineered to fragment our attention. Rubin warns that distraction is the enemy of deep work. Great art often demands long stretches of uninterrupted focus. Writer Neil Gaiman works in a gazebo with no internet, so he has nothing to do but write, or stare into space until the words come. Protecting yourself from distraction is protecting the work. 19. Collaboration. While creation often begins in solitude, collaboration can magnify and transform ideas. Rubin's work with bands like the Red Hot Chili Peppers shows that each member brings something the others could never invent alone. True collaboration isn't compromise, it's fusion, where something greater emerges from the blend of perspectives. 20. Intention. Why you create shapes what you create. Rubin challenges us to ask, is this for approval? For money? For truth? For beauty? The clearest works often have the purest intentions. When George Harrison wrote, "Here Comes the Sun," it wasn't for charts or fame. It was a moment of joy captured after a cold English winter. Intention is the heartbeat of the work. 21. Rules. Rules can be guides, but they can also be cages. Rubin notes that many great breakthroughs happen when an artist bends or breaks the rules of their medium. Punk music ignored traditional song structures and still changed culture. Picasso mastered classical technique before dismantling it in Cubism. Rules can teach you discipline, but knowing when to step outside them is part of mastery. 22. The opposite is true. In creativity, contradictions coexist. A work can be both personal and universal, simple and complex, imperfect and perfect. Rubin says holding opposing truths keeps your art alive. For example, a photograph can feel spontaneous and yet be meticulously staged. Accepting this paradox opens doors to unexpected solutions. You don't have to choose one truth over another. If these insights are opening your mind, imagine what you'll learn in the next chapters. We break down life-changing biographies, documentaries, books, stories, and strategies every single week. So hit that subscribe button of Success Story and turn on the bell, because your next big breakthrough might be just one video away. 23. Listening is not passive. It's active engagement with sound, space, and silence. Rubin credits much of his production success to deep listening, both to the music and to the artist. The same applies beyond music, listening to your audience, your collaborators, and your intuition. Great work often emerges from what's heard between the lines. 24. Patience. Some ideas take time to ripen. Rubin warns against rushing the process for the sake of deadlines. The gestation period can be frustrating, but it's where depth forms. Think of Terrence Malick taking decades between films, or Da Vinci keeping the Mona Lisa for years before declaring it finished. Patience allows the work to find its truest form. 25. Beginner's mind. Approaching a project with beginner's mind means seeing it fresh, without the baggage of expertise. Rubin likens it to how a child explores the world, curious, open, unafraid of mistakes. Zen master Shunryu Suzuki famously said, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's, there are few." The beginner's mind keeps your art playful and surprising. 26. Inspiration. Inspiration is a spark, but it's not the whole fire. Rubin suggests treating inspiration like an honored guest, welcoming it warmly, than doing the work to sustain it. Billie Eilish once wrote a hit song in minutes after hearing a random melody, but finishing it took disciplined effort. Inspiration starts the journey. Work completes it. 27. Habits. Habits create the foundation for sustained creativity. Rubin notes that many artists thrive on ritual, whether it's writing at the same hour each day or setting a consistent pre-performance routine. Stephen King writes every morning, holidays included, because the habit removes the question of if he'll work. It becomes automatic. 28. Seeds. Every work begins as a seed, a small fragment of an idea. Rubin emphasizes not judging seeds too early. A scrap of melody, a line of dialogue, a doodle. Any could grow into something remarkable. Bob Marley's Three Little Birds began with a casual observation of birds outside his window. Protect seeds until you know what they can become. 29. Experimentation. Experimentation means trying without knowing the outcome. Rubin encourages embracing the risk of failure as part of discovery. Radiohead's Kid A came from the band abandoning guitars to explore electronic sounds, alienating some fans but expanding their artistry. Every experiment, even the failed ones, teaches you something. 30. Try everything. Sometimes the path forward is found by trying every possible door. Rubin recalls studio sessions where the band tested dozens of arrangements before finding the one that clicked. The process can feel chaotic, but it reveals possibilities you'd never see by sticking to the safe route. When in doubt, try it all. 31. Crafting is where inspiration meets skill. Rubin explains that raw ideas are only the beginning. Refinement is what transforms them into timeless works. Think of a sculptor chiseling marble. The vision may be instant, but the details take hours, months, years. Crafting demands patience, precision, and love for the process. It's the difference between a rough sketch and a masterpiece hanging in a gallery. 32. Momentum. Momentum is the silent force that carries a project forward once it's in motion. Rubin compares it to a wave. You paddle hard to catch it, but once you do, it propels you. The Beatles' early career was a rush of albums because they stayed in motion. Lose momentum, and restarting feels twice as hard. Protect it at all costs. 33. Point of view. Every creator has a lens through which they see the world. Rubin urges embracing that lens fully. A filmmaker's camera angle, a poet's word choice, a designer's color palette, all are expressions of point of view. Wes Anderson's films are instantly recognizable because of his unapologetic style. Your point of view is your fingerprint in the creative universe. Breaking the sameness. Sameness dulls impact. Rubin warns against falling into patterns that feel safe but predictable. David Bowie reinvented himself musically and visually to stay fresh. Sometimes breaking sameness means changing medium, environment, or collaborators. Innovation often lives just beyond the comfort zone. 35. Completion finishing is its own art. Rubin says many creators stall at 90%, afraid the work will never match the ideal in their mind. Completion requires letting go, accepting that perfection is impossible, and that the audience will bring their own meaning. A finished, imperfect work impacts the world. An unfinished, perfect one doesn't exist. 36. The abundant mindset. Scarcity thinking. Believing there are limited ideas, opportunities, or audiences stifles creativity. Rubin promotes an abundant mindset. There's more than enough to go around. The success of another artist doesn't diminish yours. Hip-hop thrives because artists sample and remix each other's work, proving creativity expands when shared. 37. The experimenter and the finisher. Some people excel at starting, others at finishing. Rubin says the best creators learn to balance both roles. The experimenter plays, explores, takes risks. The finisher brings discipline and closure. Pixar movies are made in this dance. Wild storyboarding followed by meticulous editing until the film is ready for release. 38. Temporary rules. Temporary rules can create structure without becoming prisons. Rubin often sets short-term creative constraints, like recording with only acoustic instruments, to push artists toward new solutions. These rules are tools, not laws. Once they've served their purpose, they can be discarded. 39. Greatness. Greatness isn't about universal approval. It's about truth and depth. Rubin notes that many works we now consider masterpieces were misunderstood at first. Vincent van Gogh sold only one painting in his lifetime, yet his vision endures. Greatness comes from making the most honest work you can, regardless of reception. 40. Success. Success, Rubin warns, is a tricky measure. Chasing it can dilute the work. Ignoring it entirely can make survival hard. True success is aligning your creative life with your values, making work you're proud of, sustaining the practice, and keeping the joy alive. Awards and charts are fleeting. Fulfillment is lasting. 41. Connected detachment, possibility. Rubin introduces the paradox of being deeply connected to your work while also remaining detached from its outcome. It's the state of caring enough to give your best, but not so much that fear of failure paralyzes you. Martial artists often embody this balance, focused and committed, yet calm in the face of uncertainty. When you hold your work lightly, possibilities multiply. 42. The ecstatic. The ecstatic is the electric moment when creation feels transcendent, when you lose track of time and the work feels like it's creating itself. Rubin says these moments can't be forced. They're the reward for showing up consistently. Beethoven described composing as being in conversation with God. These peaks are rare, but they remind us why we create. 43. Point of reference. Your point of reference shapes what you consider good. Rubin urges expanding it, listening to unfamiliar music, studying foreign art, reading beyond your usual genres. A jazz musician might draw on African rhythms. A chef might incorporate flavors from another culture. Broadening your references expands your creative vocabulary. 44. Non-competition. In the creative world, comparison is a trap. Rubin believes your only competition is yourself, the you of yesterday. The Japanese concept of Kaizen reflects this: continuous self-improvement without measuring against others. When you focus inward, your work grows freer and more authentic. 45. Essence. Every work has an essence, its purest, most essential truth. Rubin advises stripping away anything that distracts from it. Steve Jobs applied this principle to Apple products, removing unnecessary buttons and features until only the essence remained. Finding it means asking, if I remove this, does the work still whole? 46. Apocrypha. Not all stories about the creative process are true. Some are myths that grow around artists. Rubin warns not to chase legends or romanticized struggles. The image of the tortured genius is compelling, but not a requirement for great work. Your path can be grounded, healthy, and still produce brilliance. 47. Tuning out undermining voices. The world is full of voices, critics, doubters, even your own inner cynic. Rubin emphasizes tuning them out when they undermine your creative instinct. Bob Dylan ignored those who told him going electric would ruin him, and in doing so, made history. Not every voice deserves a seat in your studio. 48. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is knowing your strengths, weaknesses, and tendencies without judgment. Rubin sees it as a tool for better creation. When you know your habits, you can work with them instead of against them. A writer who knows they procrastinate in the afternoon might schedule creative work in the morning, aligning process with self-knowledge. 49. Right before our eyes. Sometimes the idea you're searching for is already in front of you. Rubin recalls artists overcomplicating songs until they realized the original demo held the magic. The human tendency is to look far and wide, but often the answer is in the simplest version you began with. 50. A whisper out of time. Great ideas often arrive quietly, almost out of sync with the world around you. Rubin says these whispers can be easy to miss, but they're often the most original. Think of Van Gogh painting in a style the art world wasn't ready for. Being ahead of your time can be lonely, but history often catches. 51. Expect a surprise. In the creative process, the unexpected is not an interruption, it's a gift. Rubin says surprises often hold the spark that transforms good work into great. The invention of the post-it note came from a glue that failed to be strong. A photographer might capture their best shot when the subject laughs between poses. The creative mind learns to welcome, not fear, surprise. 52. Great expectations. High expectations can crush spontaneity. Rubin advises lowering the stakes in your mind, not in your effort, but in your need for perfection. Bruce Springsteen didn't expect Born to Run to become iconic. He just poured his truth into it. Freeing yourself from crushing expectations makes the work lighter and often better. 53. Openness. Openness is the willingness to explore any idea, no matter how strange it first appears. Rubin often records every suggestion in a session, knowing even a bad idea might spark a breakthrough. Openness requires humility, accepting that brilliance can come from anywhere, even where you least expect it. 54. Surrounding the lightning bolt. When inspiration strikes, Rubin advises doing everything possible to support and protect it. That may mean canceling other plans, working late into the night, or rearranging your environment to capture the idea fully. Bob Dylan wrote "Like a Rolling Stone" in one burst, surrounded by the right conditions to channel the energy before it faded. 55. 24/7. Staying in it. Rubin says truly great works often happen when you live inside the project completely. John Coltrane would practice his saxophone for hours, then fall asleep with music still playing in his head. This immersion keeps the idea alive and evolving, even when you're not actively working. 56. Spontaneity. Special moments. Some of the most powerful creative moments are unplanned. Rubin recalls capturing vocal takes where the singer didn't realize the mic was on. Moments raw and unrepeatable. Spontaneity often reveals truth because it bypasses overthinking. It's the magic that happens when you forget the rules and just respond in the moment. 57. How to choose. With so many possibilities, choice can feel overwhelming. Rubin's method is simple. Choose the one that feels alive. Not the safest, not the one you think will please others, but the one that stirs something in you. That instinctive pull is often your most trustworthy guide. 58. Shades and degrees. Creativity is rarely black or white. Rubin notes that even a small shift in tone, color, or tempo can change the emotional impact entirely. The difference between a good and great painting may be a single brushstroke. Mastery often lies in refining subtle shades rather than making drastic changes. 59. Implications. Purpose. Every piece of work carries implications, messages and meanings beyond the surface. Rubin encourages creators to ask what their work adds to the world. Does it heal, challenge, inspire? Purpose doesn't have to be grand, but clarity of purpose gives the work resonance and weight. 60. Freedom. Freedom is the space to create without fear of judgment or restriction. Rubin sees it as essential to art that endures. Prince famously recorded hours of unreleased music simply because he wanted to, not because it would sell. Freedom allows risk, and risk fuels originality. 61. The possessed. There are moments in creation when the work takes hold of you. When the idea doesn't ask politely, it demands. Rubin calls this being possessed by the work. The song wants to be written. The canvas wants to be filled. The film wants to be cut tonight, not tomorrow. In this state, you're not forcing, you're following. Sleep fades, hunger quiets, and time loosens its grip. A producer hits record on a scratch take, and the artist delivers the performance of their life because something larger has stepped into the room. Don't question it. Don't tidy it. Make space and move with it. Later, you can refine. But when the current surges, your only job is to channel. Clear the schedule. Turn off the phone. Capture everything. These episodes don't arrive on command, but they arrive more often for those who show up daily. The paradox: discipline invites possession. Routine opens the door. And when it walks in, you say yes. 62. What works for you? Believing. There's no single right process, only the one that works for you. Rubin insists belief is part of the method. If you trust a ritual, it amplifies it. Some artists wake before dawn, others bloom at midnight. Some draft fast and revise forever. Others sculpt slowly in one pass. Believe in the way your instrument responds. The chair you sit in, the tea you drink. These are not superstitions. They're signals to your nervous system that it's time to create. Borrow methods freely, but never become a prisoner to them. Build a personal studio of beliefs that steady your hand and quiet your doubt. When you honor your way, even if it looks odd from the outside, you create a private gravity that pulls the work toward completion. Believe first, then prove it with action. In the end, the results are the only doctrine that matters. 63. Adaptation. Every project, season, and body changes. Adaptation is not compromise. It's craft intelligence. If the voice is tired, switch the key. If the set is noisy, write the scene for the noise. When resources shrink, constraint becomes your co-writer. Rubin frames adaptation as listening. To the room, to the collaborators, to your own limits. The band that insists on last year's sound misses the one trying to be born today. The writer who can't draft at home learns cafes are their engine. Adaptation is humility in motion. What does the work need now? Answer that honestly, and the work breathes. Refuse, and it suffocates under nostalgia for a process that no longer fits. Survival favors the responsive. So does originality. 64. Translation art begins as feeling, then seeks a form. Translation is the passage from subtle, wordless intuition into sound, image, movement, or text. Much is lost in crossing that bridge, unless you translate with care. Write the melody the emotion suggests, not the one your hands already know. Choose the color the memory evokes, not the color your palette favors. Rubin recommends keeping the channel clean. Fewer intermediaries, fewer filters. Record the demo the instant the feeling arrives. Sketch before you explain. Let the rawness through. Later you can strengthen grammar, tune pitch, sharpen edges, but protect the first radiance. Translation done well preserves the frequency of the original spark, so the audience doesn't just understand, they feel what you felt. 65. Clean slate. To truly start, you must clear. A clean slate is more than a desk without clutter. It's a mind without residue from the last project, last praise, last wound. Rubin likes rituals that reset the field, changing rooms, instruments, tempos, taking walks with no headphones, deleting the safe template so you don't default to yesterday. The clean slate says, we don't owe the new work the habits of the old. It's permission to surprise yourself. If you can't empty everything, empty enough to notice again. Beginners are blessed because they have no past to imitate. Advanced creators must manufacture that innocence. Wipe the canvas. Ask the simplest question: what wants to appear here? Then listen for the faintest answer. 66. Context. The same piece in a different context is a different piece. Rubin urges you to consider where and how the work is encountered. The room's acoustics, the sequence on an album, the white space around a poem, the thumbnail that frames a film. Context also means timing. Some works need a quiet release. Others need a stage and a roar. Your intention and the environment either harmonize or clash. Don't let accident decide. Curate the container so the essence is legible. And remember your own context, your mood, your biases, your history. Step outside them when you can. A wise creator shapes not only the art, but the conditions in which it is received. 67. The energy in the work. Beyond technique lies charge, the energetic imprint that makes a work feel alive. Rubin cares less about perfect intonation than about whether the take vibrates. You can polish life out of a song, color grade wonder out of a shot, over-explain the mystery out of a paragraph. Guard the pulse. If an early messy draft crackles while the later, cleaner one sits flat, go back. Ask, where did the energy leak? Often it leaks where fear of judgment enters, where we start pleasing instead of revealing. Energy is contagious. Audiences feel when the artist meant it. Favor performances over composites, single brushstrokes over airless detailing, words that breathe over words that impress. What endures is not correctness, it's aliveness. 68. Ending to start anew, regeneration. Finishing is not the finale, it's the compost for what's next. Rubin frames completion as a regenerative act. You return material to the soil, lessons, failures, victories, so the next season can grow. After release, rest deliberately. Don't rush to fill the silence. Let the silence reset your senses. Then, when you begin again, you're not dragging an exhausted body across the start line. You're renewed. Regeneration includes pruning, ending habits that no longer serve, thanking collaborators whose season with you is complete, changing instruments to invite different gestures, close with gratitude, open with curiosity. Creation is cyclical. Honor the cycle, and it will carry you. 69. Play is not childish, it's prime. Rubin treats play as the laboratory where risk feels safe and discovery feels inevitable. Remove the grade and watch ideas multiply. Jam without a plan. Storyboard without dialogue. Dance without choreography. In play, the nervous system relaxes, and the subconscious steps forward with gifts. Many serious solutions arrive during unserious experiments. Laugh in the studio. Make the wrong choice on purpose. Flip the canvas upside down. The goal isn't chaos, it's permission. When play returns, fear loses its grip, and the work brightens with a human warmth you can't fake. 70. The art habit Sangha. Habits hold the door open. Community Sangha invites you through. Rubin emphasizes the art habit, a daily rhythm that makes making ordinary, and the circle that sustains it. Peers who show up, share honestly, and protect the flame. Find or build a room where the standard is devotion, not status. Where notes sharpen the work, not the ego. Your Sangha can be 3 people or 30, online or in person. What matters is energy exchange and accountability. Combined with ritual, this habit community loop becomes a greenhouse. Inside, work grows faster, stronger, truer. Alone you can spark. Together you can sustain. 71. The Prism of Self. We don't make from a single self. We make through a prism of selves. Child, critic, dreamer, engineer, each bending the light differently. Rubin invites you to rotate the prism on purpose. Let the child draft, the engineer stabilize, the critic trim, the dreamer reopen possibilities. When one facet dominates, the work tilts, all feeling, no structure, all polish, no pulse. Practice switching lenses. Write a scene from tenderness, then from menace. Mix a track for intimacy, then for spectacle. You're not one voice, you're a choir. Conduct it. 72. Let it be. At some point, you stop improving and start interfering. Let it be is not surrender. It's wisdom, the choice to preserve what's alive rather than chase what's unreachable. Rubin watches for the moment the work exhales, the mix where the vocal sits just so, the draft where the meaning rings clear. Past that point, each tweak steals a little soul. The discipline is to walk away even while possibility whispers. Trust that the life you caught is enough. Release the urge to prove you tried harder. Let it be and let it live. 73. Cooperation. Cooperation is collaboration with listening at its core. Not compromise that halves an idea, but fusion that creates a third thing neither of you could make alone. Rubin's sessions thrive when the room serves the song, not the self. Speak plainly, credit generously, argue cleanly, and return to the question, what serves the work? Choose collaborators for taste and temperament, not clout. Cooperation is a craft, setting boundaries, defining roles, inviting surprise. When it's right, the room becomes an instrument, and the art plays you. 74. The Sincerity Dilemma. Be sincere, and you risk sentimentality. Be detached, and you risk emptiness. Rubin resolves the dilemma by aiming for earned sincerity, emotion anchored in truth, restraint, and detail. Don't announce feeling, evoke it. A single honest image can carry more weight than a paragraph of persuasion. Check your work for signals of begging the audience to feel. Then replace them with moments that simply are. The cracked note you kept, the quiet line you didn't over-explain, the pause that lets the listener arrive on their own. Sincerity isn't shouting, it's showing. 75. The Gatekeeper. There are external gatekeepers, curators, editors, executives, and an internal one, your taste. Rubin advises strengthening the inner gatekeeper until it's the authority you trust most. Train it by consuming great work widely, by finishing enough to compare your intent with your result, by listening for the body's yes and no. External doors may open or not. Your job is to make the work undeniable to your own standards. When the inner gate is clear and strict, the outer gates become less frightening and often more likely to open. 76. Why make art? Because making art is how humans pray, play, process, and connect. Rubin frames creation as service, offering clarity, beauty, challenge, solace, sometimes all at once. You make art to participate in reality at a deeper frequency, to translate what can't be said any other way, to leave behind a trail of truth. Fame, money, approval, these are weather. Meaning is climate. If one person breathes easier because your work exists, you've justified the effort. If you breathe easier, you've justified the life. 77. Harmony is alignment of elements within the piece and of the piece with its essence. Rubin listens for balances, tension and release, density and space, light and shadow. Too much symmetry can deaden. Too much imbalance can confuse. The aim isn't neatness, it's resonance, the feeling that everything belongs. Sometimes you achieve harmony by subtraction, sometimes by adding an unexpected counterpoint. Keep adjusting until the work stops arguing with itself. Then stop. Harmony has a sound, quiet joy. 78. what we tell ourselves. The stories you repeat become the studio you work in. I'm blocked, I'm late, I'm not ready. Rubin suggests rewriting the script. I'm noticing, I'm early in the process, I can try a small step. Language is a tool, use it to open. Build phrases that lower the stakes and raise the courage. Let's see, what if? One more pass. Catch the undermining voice and thank it for caring, then return to the work. The tale you tell yourself is the first draft of your future. Write it well. Creativity is not a skill. It's a state of being. Rick Rubin reminds us that the true artist is not someone who waits for inspiration, but someone who lives in a way that invites it every single day. Whether you paint, write, compose, design, or simply live, you have the power to see the world with fresh eyes and to bring something into existence that never existed before. The creative act is not the work of the rare genius. It's the birthright of every human being. Now it's your turn. Pick up your tools, trust the process, and create, not because you have to, but because you can't imagine life without it. This has been The Creative Act, a way of being. May you carry its lessons into every act of your life. You've just unlocked Rick Rubin's blueprint for living a creative, fulfilled life. But here's the harsh truth. Most of you still won't act on it. Why? Because the world in 2025 isn't waiting for your perfect moment. It's moving without you. And if you're feeling stuck right now, you need to hear the 10 brutally honest truths that could be the difference between wasting the next 5 years or building the future you dream about. So stay right here. What I'm about to tell you might just be the wake-up call you've been avoiding.